Welcome, Meg, to the Root of Our Health. It is a pleasure to have you on this show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Great. Yes, no worries. So I'd like to start just obviously getting to know you a little bit better. So I would love for my audience to understand your story, your background, and who you are. So can you fill us in?
Yes, yeah, thank you. I'm Dr. Meg Mill. I see patients in my virtual functional medicine practice all over the world, and my background is actually as a clinical pharmacist. So I spent almost 2 decades at practicing as a clinical pharmacist before I found my way to functional medicine, and I did that from two different angles. I did that from a personal journey and from situations I was seeing with my patients. So from my patient perspective, I just kept seeing as I was working with people, people just getting more and more sick with more and more medications. And and I understood the protocols. I knew why the medications were coming, but at the same time, there was this gap where here you are overloaded with medications, and you're not thriving. You're really just, they were surviving. So, and then on another personal, no, I was an IBS sufferer, and I feel like the IBS label is like, we don't know what's going on. You feel bad, but you look fine in our mind. So I jumped around to different gastroenterologists, and I kept getting like, that you look good, you're fine, and you just have IBS, and that just wasn't satisfactory to me. I'm like, I never know when I'm gonna feel bad. I just, I'm living with discomfort, and so I started my own journey on the path of functional medicine, and then was able to, heal myself, and just saw that real difference in that it can make in personally, which made me want to go on a mission to help more people. So I went back and got certification through the Institute of Functional Medicine and School of Applied Functional Medicine, and started a journey into functional medicine.
Beautiful. And, yes, just like you, that is why I embarked on functional medicine as well. So, as a health coach. And yeah, because not only, like you said, the conventional way was not making sense, right? It was like, okay, our healthcare system is growing in dollars, like, daily, but yet people are getting sicker. Like, how does that doesn't correlate? And like you as well, I did had my own health journey, and meaning, so I sought out a functional medicine doctor because I, at the time I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue. So I was just like, this is it, this paradigm or this approach is the way, going forward. And we need more of these people. We need more of you. So I actually went for the health coaching certification through the school that partners with IFM. So we're connected there. So yes, it's just it's a breath of fresh air, right? So it's kind of like, okay, finally we're getting somewhere, but we need more of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And when you can see the dramatic changes that can make for people, it reinforces that. I mean, if people say, I've felt this way for 20 years, and I just thought that's the way I had to feel, and that's not the case. So I wanted people to know that as much as possible, that's not, you have options.
Right. And to that extent, yes, I said, when I was mentioning my symptoms to my friends, well, they're like, well, isn't that normal? I said, no, it's not normal. It's not normal to feel that way, no matter how old you are, even if you're in your 40s. It's not normal to, feel this way, or to, act this way in certain, respects. So yes. So from there, I would like to know a little bit. So I know that you're a functional medicine doctor, but you specialize in more or less treating a client or patients with migraines. So why are you particularly passionate about working with people suffering with migraines?
So I just started to notice when I first opened my practice, I was noticing that so many people that were coming to me, whether it was for for headaches specifically, or migraines, or whether it was for any other reason, what we do when they first come in, we do a really detailed intake questionnaire. We go back through the whole health history. We do symptom questionnaires, and I really dig into, because we're looking for the root cause of what's going on in their health. And so one of the things I noticed was that people were coming to me, many people coming to me would say they were having chronic headaches. And sometimes the chronic headaches were the thing that was bringing them in. And sometimes it was something totally different. But when we're digging in, they were saying they're living with this. And headaches have become normalized in some ways. So people may be suffering regularly and they think, oh, that's just how I have to be. That's how I live. They've been told they're just going to have this forever. And so I just brought, and then after working with people, I would have people say, oh my gosh, I don't have headaches anymore. Oh my gosh, my headaches are good. It was so surprising to them because their headaches would clear out through the things we were working on. And it was something that I was able to make huge changes for people in their life. And they were able to see dramatic results, and they didn't have to live with that. And I just started to notice, wow, this is really a problem that's not being addressed. We're not talking about it. We're just grabbing pain medication, which can lead to a whole nother set of issues. And so I just wanted to bring more awareness to this, because I think so many people are suffering in silence, basically just thinking like, oh, I just have a headache. I live with this.
Yeah. So with that, I mean, what do you see that helps them most? Like, is it nutrition? Is it, what in terms like the underlying cause?
Yeah, so that's different for each person. And so that's what we do. We discover there are a lot of different triggers that contribute, and there are different triggers, one for everyone based on, their unique imbalances. And then two, it can also be a combination of triggers. So like someone might say, I'm going to use this as an example. Like I can have a glass of wine sometimes and I don't get a headache. But then other times I have a glass of wine and I'll start getting a migraine. And it might not be just that. We know there are certain foods and drinks that do commonly trigger headaches, but it might not be that glass of wine individually, but it might be other things that you also, were you dehydrated? Did you have also another type of food that created that combination of different things that created that trigger? Did you not sleep as much the night before? So there are different combinations of things that sometimes can be a trigger. And so we look at the person as a whole and find the combination of their unique triggers in order to help them, resolve their headaches.
Yeah, it's definitely complicated. Nothing is ever easy, right?
Yeah, no, but I like it's like detective work.
Exactly.
Yes.
Problem solving, detective work. And
yes.
that's the beauty, I think, of functional medicine, really, in my eyes, because if that person were to go to conventional, obviously it would be more prescription based. Not many questions asked, but in terms of a functional medicine doctor, there are many, as you even said it, intake questions. Like I'm sure it's like a 7 to 9 page questionnaire, to where it's really in depth of this person, of who this person is, this patient. And actually, let's ask that question. Is that the difference between a conventional and the functional medicine? Like, what is the difference when you're treating a patient with migraines? What is the difference that you see from if they were to go to a conventional doctor versus you as a functional medicine?
Yeah, so I think for this in particular, we have very different approaches. So, and I like to use I have an analogy I like to use in this case. So if you took your car to a mechanic and you told the mechanic that your car was making a noise, and the mechanic walked away and came back and handed you a set of earmuffs and your keys back and said, your problem is fixed, here's your car, would you feel comfortable driving away? No. Most of us would not. So we would be horrified and think, I can't get in this car, it's dangerous. But that's conventionally really the way we're treating headaches right now. So, hopefully if you're someone particularly with severe migraines or chronic migraines, you've had the MRI and you've been, you've had that check. But after that, you're really just given things to cover up the pain. So you're given medication, whether it's prescription medication or whether you're just taking over the counter medications such as like Advil and Tylenol, and then you're just treating the pain. And really a headache is a symptom. So it's not an actual disease. It's the symptom of something else, which is alerting us that there's something else going on in the body. So instead of taking that headache and just covering the pain for you to get through it, in functional medicine, we're actually going to flip that around, and we're going to look at what is causing the headache. What are the underlying factors in you that are triggering those headaches? So it's really a completely different approach.
Yeah. And do you find that people who go to you, have they already gone to a conventional doctor with this headache and then gone to you and noticed obviously that, wow, I mean, you said it already,
Yeah.
but like, I mean,
they don't have to take medicine anymore.
Right.
They've been on daily medicine, or either they've been on, it just depends on someone's severity. Either they've been living for 20, for years, potentially just at home taking Advil, which can cause other problems down the road, or Tylenol, which can also cause other problems, or some people have, been to the neurologist, been on chronic meds for migraines and been able to get off of them and still not have headaches. So that's where it's like really when you see that impact is amazing.
Yeah. And how do we, I'm wondering as we're talking, so obviously the patients are really sick and tired of having this headache, right? They're really sick and tired of, or at least of what their symptoms are. So I'm wondering, how do they how at that point, how did they reach out? What was their breaking point normally? If they go from a conventional doctor, how do they find you? Is it just because they search for functional medicine? When you ask them, how did you hear of us? What are their words?
Yeah, I think I do have people just searching functional medicine. I guess people come to me from all different places, whether it is that search, whether it's referral, whether it's they've heard me somewhere, but hopefully people are becoming more and more aware of functional medicine. I think it's it's a fairly new in our history of medicine. It's fairly new avenue, and it's gaining awareness because so many people are seeing success, and so I think that people are just looking, and some people have just reached a max of I can't deal with this pain anymore. I'm, knocked out for migraines. I feel like I can't take care of my kids the way I want to. I can't, I'm depending on other people. I did have someone come in that different people, they come in for all different reasons, but you can come in. I've had people come in for gut health issues that then we're digging in, and it's, I've been taking ibuprofen once a week for my headache. So it's the awareness of I thought I had to live with this weekly headache, but now my stomach hurts so much that I'm prompting to I need to do something about that. And we're well, we actually need to fix both things, and we can't, so there, it's complicated, but all sorts of different ways, but they all, we're looking to get to the root and how we can fix it.
Yes, we are. And on to that, what are some of the ways that we can fix it? Or, how can they find relief? What is something that you tell them that they can do, at least maybe give a tip or something for my audience?
Sure. Yeah. I think that I'd like to tell people 2 free, easy things you can do right now. That everyone in your audience could do is hydrate. Make sure that you're drinking enough water. We really want to look at getting, a good rule of thumb is to try to aim for about half your body weight in water daily. And the other aspect of that is you want to sip that water throughout the day. You don't want to have your water all at mealtime, because when you drink a lot of water during meals, it actually dilutes the way the food is intended to be eaten in for optimal digestion. And plus, when you chug that water, you can eliminate a good bit of it anyway, because you're getting it all at the same time. So just keep that water bottle or a glass of water beside your desk, sip throughout the day, and really pay attention to how much you're hydrating. I think people think they're drinking more than they actually are sometimes. So just, that's a good awareness. Because we know that cellular dehydration, is an independent trigger for headaches. And then the other thing that they could, is so easy, and we don't always prioritize it, but is to get good sleep, because, that's another, especially with migraines, the quality of REM sleep, as there's studies with a direct correlation to migraines. And so you just really want to make sure that you're, getting a good night's sleep, that you're making sure your room is cool, dark, and quiet, that you're leaving maybe ditching your phone at the door of your bedroom so it's not in there and the blue light's not shining to stimulate your brain or distracting you to stay up, and just doing some of those tips in order to get a better sleep, in order to prioritize that those are things that are easy and can make an impact.
I think you just mentioned 2. You said there was 3. So we have water and sleep.
Yeah. And then the other thing they can do is to try to start figuring out where their triggers are. So you can actually just so what I tell people to do is, when you get that headache, write down everything you ate, or any like changes in your environment, anything you can think of that would be different in the 24 to 48 hours before that time. So then you can start to see a pattern, just sometimes bringing awareness, having the realization that your environment and your food actually do affect your headaches, and start becoming your own detective to kind of pinpoint where those connections could be made.
Yeah. Yeah. So on point. I just want to make, a couple comments. So the water thing. Yes, yes, and yes. I didn't realize, like so many people, I was drinking water while I was eating. And it was a functional medicine doctor that said no, because that's why you're not properly digesting your food. To, yes, maybe have some water if you're taking, digestive enzymes prior to food, but while you're eating, don't, drink anything. So I haven't done that since then. And the other thing is with the sleep. Yes, obviously as dark as possible. Usually I would also ask, people to wear an eye mask, if anything, just because, there are, like, I have an alarm clock that I use, but it still has, like, even if I put in the dimmer, it's still bright enough to where I'm like, okay, I can't look at it. So yeah, keeping it cool, dark, and yeah, the REM sleep is definitely important. And yeah, so everything that you touched on was like something that I think we all need to do, whether it's for a headache or for anything. Oh, and then yeah, the last one, keeping a food journal. I'm all about food journals, like, even writing it down, like, how did it make you feel? Did it trigger this headache? Did it make you feel bloated? Did it, because food and what we drink, has a lot to do with how we feel and how we behave. So understanding that and keeping it like right in front of you, and you're like, oh, I had no idea. So yeah, thank you for listing those tips. That was wonderful.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about, because me personally as well, and my audience are obviously going through a lot of hormonal change, and hormones played a huge role in my, what I was going through in terms of my health journey. And so what can you say, or what advice would you give for those who are suffering from hormonal migraines? Because there's 2 different, right? There's different types of migraines.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what about those who are going through hormonal migraines, like say maybe somebody who's going through menopause or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So often what happens is when I'm going to start with people that actually are still cycling too, but this can happen through menopause because we have all sorts of changes in our hormones at that time. But for those of us who have had migraines in that I see so many people that say, like, okay, 2 days before my period, every month I'm getting that migraine. It can become a cyclical thing where it's definitely, you can pretty clearly tell that you're getting them hormonally. And that often happens because the week before our period, estrogen and progesterone both drop, but progesterone can drop more rapidly than estrogen, leading us to an estrogen dominant state. And that can also happen through perimenopause. So when we're talking about menopause, perimenopause, your progesterone drops faster than your estrogen. So even if you don't have particularly high levels of estrogen, you can become estrogen dominant. And so that estrogen dominance can cause the release of inflammatory mediators called prostaglandins, and headaches can be a common symptom of a surge of prostaglandins. And so what we want to do is we want to balance those hormones. So when you're coming to like a functional practitioner like myself, we do hormone tests and we look at exactly where all your hormones are, and then we work to creating that balance for you. But some things you can do for all of the listeners at home are just start to try to reduce your exposure to external estrogens that we call xenoestrogens. And you probably have talked about this a lot.
It's the toxic, like the plastics, yes, and the
plastics,
toxic,
and
the water
and
bottles and stuff like that.
Yes, like going into getting the grass-fed beef, and
exactly.
If you're eating dairy, have hormone free, because we're getting hormones in our foods, and then
right,
we're getting hormones in our environment, and those estrogens are coming to us all over where we're not even realizing it.
Right. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, any way that we can on our own, I would definitely do that, because if we can take control of our own destiny, if we especially with hormones and estrogen. I don't know if you're on board with this as well, but I do take progesterone, like a natural form of progesterone, just to kind of balance things. I don't know how, I mean, it's working in terms of my sleep. It's awesome. But yeah, so I think it's helping, because I was estrogen dominant throughout, like I said, going through this adrenal fatigue. So I don't recommend, obviously that's for, doctors to prescribe and stuff like that, but that's something I think also could benefit too.
Absolutely.
So one thing that I love to talk about is stress. That's my wheelhouse. And stress has, I mean, obviously migraines kind of come out with stress, right? So can you describe how stress plays a role in these migraines, like how it actually creates these migraines?
Sure. So I actually call it the chain of pain for a lot of people, because I think you get in that chain of pain, because when we're looking at stress, we particularly think of stress as emotional stress, or like I have a to-do list and I'm so stressed out. And but stress can also be physical. So the actual headache is the headache's causing pain, and pain in itself is stressful on the body. And so when you have that physical stress, you also can get that high cortisol. And then when you get the high cortisol, that can actually release another hormone called prolactin, and your prolactin can actually increase your pain sensitivity. So when you get in that, then you have increased pain sensitivity, which can lead to more headaches, which is, so you can get in this chain of pain. And so we really need to work at looking at your adrenal health, and in finding ways to really manage your stress, and, whatever. And I think what is interesting is that, managing stress is different for everyone. So it's unique in what may be helpful, when you're working with people. What may help somebody out may not be the right method for the next person. And so really individually finding your own unique way to, relax and de-stress. And there's so many things we can do that we know, like gratitude journaling, meditation, I'm sure you name all of them, but finding a way that can work in your life to really decrease that stress load.
Yes. And it's so important, because like you said, it could affect physically, which is also, what brings on the headaches. Now, one thing that I did, I'm so bad, but like the one thing that I should have asked in the beginning what is the difference between a headache and a migraine?
Yeah. Well, there's several different types of headaches really, but the most kind of common one would be a tension headache. And those are sort of an unpredictable pattern. They're not as long potentially as a migraine. And they kind of feel like a tension band around your head. So the migraine generally is going to be a longer headache. There's a lot of, it could be a throbbing feeling. You do get in the tension headache, you don't get the nausea, the vomiting, the auras. Like with a migraine, you can actually get auras, you get nausea, you can get vomiting, and you usually go through it has a process. So you go through stages of the migraine headache. It is generally you have the stages that you go through each time. And it also helps the migraine to be in a cool, dark, and quiet. We talked like sleep, to be laying down in a dark room, in a quiet space will often be what you need to sometimes to help calm that migraine down.
Yes. Yes. Have you had experienced many migraines?
I have had migraines. I am not a chronic migraine sufferer, and I feel for people that are, because they are so intense. And it's just tough to do anything else when you have that kind of pain.
Yeah, I've had it before too. It's not fun whatsoever. It's like you want to literally crawl and in a hole and die. It's not. So yeah, like you said, chronic sufferers, that's just something that they should seek you right away, because it's not normal, and there's definitely can be a cure for it. So
yes.
So thank you so much, Meg. And to that, where can people find you? Like where are you, and what do you have coming up?
Yes, thank you. Yes, so actually I have a program coming up specifically on surrounding becoming headache and migraine free, and it's called Headstrong: Happiness Beyond Headaches. You can get more information on that at happinessbeyondheadaches.com. And I'm also over on Instagram at Dr. Meg Mill, where I share information about headaches and all things functional medicine. So come join me, say hello. I'd love to connect.
Yes, and that's how we connected too.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well, Meg, before I ask the last question, I want to acknowledge you. So for, obviously, yes, I'm really passionate like you, being in the functional medicine space, and for bringing to light, so to speak, the fact that having migraines or having, these intense headaches and migraines are not the fact of life. There is a cure basically, and it's getting to the root cause. So I want to acknowledge you for helping others see the light and see that there's a possibility that they don't have to live in this pain for the rest of their life. And also that you're helping, others to see that functional medicine is a better approach to getting better and to getting well. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So my final question is, what is, or if you have a great quote that you would like to give, or any words of inspiration?
I'd like to share, this is just something silly, but I like to, I see so many people that have so many different relationships with food. So I like to say that try to see your food as information. I think we all have a different relationship. Some people see it for comfort. Some people see it as their friend. Some people, have a love-hate. But if you can look at your food as information and really try to take that information and pull it back into your life, I think that it can be eye-opening. And I've seen it eye-opening for so many people. So, that's what we're putting in to fuel our body, to balance, everything. So, and that's how we get our nutrients. So just really focusing on when you're eating, thinking of it as information and what you can gain from it.
Beautifully said. I could not have said that better. Here. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Meg, for being on here. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and we'll definitely keep in touch on Instagram. So
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.